to chant the Panchatattva mantra. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Or other mantras before japa. How many of you were instructed to do that? Raise your hand. Okay. Srila Prabhupada never said that. I don't know where it came from, but I did an investigation about where it came from. Would you like to hear? So the next time your bhakti leader says, chant Panchatattva mantra, you'll say, Prabhupada never said that. Where did you get it? I got it from my bhakti leader. Where did he get it? He got it from his bhakti leader. Where did he get it? Okay, here's the story. Last year, this question always comes up. So last year, I was with one of my godbrothers, who is like the third devotee in the Hare Krishna movement, to join, 1966. So I got to ask him this question, and I figured if he didn't hear it, nobody heard it, because so far every godbrother I asked, did you ever hear Prabhupada say you have to chant the Panchatattva mantra before each round? And every godbrother said, no, I never heard that, as I never heard it. So now I went right to like the third ISKCON devotee, 1966. Did you ever hear it? He said, no, but. Who wants to hear the part that comes after the but? This is a very interesting but, and I don't think many devotees know what comes after the but, because I just found out what comes after the but like 6 months ago, and I've only told it at maybe one Japa Workshop. And I guess Maharaj has not really mentioned it because he didn't think it was really an issue to mention. So here it comes after the but. Sit up straight, listen, and we're going to tell you what happened. So, first thing is, Maharaj, did you ever hear Prabhupada say that before each round you should chant the Panchatattva Mahamantra? Maharaj said, no, but. Okay, we'll tell you next year when I come back. Oh, no, okay. He said, one time we were all chanting together with Prabhupada. And Jamuna Devi, after each round, would chant the Panchatattva Mahamantra, Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And Prabhupada said, that's nice. That's it. He said, that's nice. So if anyone ever says, do we have to chant the Panchatattva Mahamantra before each round? You could say, it's nice if you want to. You can do it if you like. But Prabhupada never said you had to do it. But it's nice if you do it. And that's an answer you can give to so many questions. Should we do this? And say, that's nice. I never heard Prabhupada say you have to do it, but it's nice if you want. So that's my investigation of the Panchatattva Mahamantra chanting before each round. Yes? No, it's regarding, that mantra is for kirtan. It's not for japa. That's Prabhupada's referring. No, but if you actually look at all the other references, you'll see that that mantra is for kirtan. Now, naturally, yeah, it's really for kirtan, anyway. But the thing is, for those of us who have been devotees during Prabhupada's time, especially in the first few years, if we never heard something, it's quite unlikely that Prabhupada said it, because we basically heard everything he said. Because we lived off what he said, and it was a small society. I mean, there was about 300 devotees in ISKCON when I joined. So there really were no secrets. And we were never taught that. No one was ever taught that. During the whole time that I'm aware of Prabhupada's presence, I don't remember anyone learning that. I never learned it. I never taught it. I don't remember anyone teaching that. So it was somehow, or maybe that purport was interpreted in that way. There's obviously nothing wrong with it. But it's like, Prabhu, am I going to go to hell if I don't chant? Or is my mantra going to work if I don't chant that? No, Prabhu, it won't work. Yeah, I knew. That's why I was having so much trouble. I'm trying to get away from this kind of thing, and into the relationship, into the heart and the feeling, and away from the mechanics, because this I find that some of us have a tendency to focus on mechanics. Like it seems like everything's mechanics, That's a very smarta approach to spirituality, because these smarta Brahmins, they do everything perfectly. They do the pujas perfectly and the mantras perfectly. But their goal is not to love Krishna. Their goal is to do everything perfectly. So if any of us have that tendency, that smarta tendency, to look at the mechanics of something, how you pronounce a mantra, how you offer in a puja as being of utmost importance, then we'll approach chanting in the same way. And then we'll get deviated or deterred from the essence. So I'm not saying mechanics are not important, but if we again go back to the idea of relationship, mechanics it's better they follow a good relationship than trying to use mechanics to make a good relationship, because then you'll tend to focus on the mechanics. Again, we go back to marriages. If you just teach a man mechanically how to listen or do something, it doesn't work. But if you teach him more, say, look at this woman, like Radhanath Swami said something so nice. He said, you should treat your wife the same way Krishna treats her. He said, now she's under your care. How would Krishna treat her? How would Prabhupada treat her? How would your spiritual master treat you? That's a really nice consciousness, isn't it? So then you're in the right consciousness. And naturally, in thinking like that, you'll think protection, care, guidance, good example, kindness, all these things, because that's how Krishna would treat her. That's how her spiritual master would treat her. So naturally you do those things. Whereas if you separate that consciousness and you just say, you should be nice and kind, but then the person feels like, no, I'm the boss, I'm the husband, she should just do what I say. He's in the wrong consciousness, and then he can't really do those things. Right? I don't know if you're aware, but I wrote an article that was very controversial, and it was called Husband is Guru. And a lot of people didn't like it, because I said something that no one's ever said before in ISKCON, that the husband should be submissive to the wife. And I got smashed. Then I wrote a follow-up, and I was very happy to see at last count 4,400 people had read it, which I don't know. I never wrote an article where so many people read. This is like controversy, really. It's good. And yesterday, I was listening to a talk by Bhaktivedanta Swami, and he said, the wife is dependent on the husband, so the wife will follow the husband. So what the husband should set an example, and she'll automatically follow. So he said, who should be submissive first? The husband or the wife? And everyone will say the wife. And he said, no, the husband. Because if he's submissive, the wife will be submissive. Of course, and he said, this is the one point that no men get. None of them get it. And they can't figure out why their wives aren't submissive. Because they're the leaders, but they don't set the example. So now, if we could convince you, of course it would take us 2 days to convince all the men that they should be submissive to their wives, because if they're submissive to their wives, they think that they're losing their Shakti and they're becoming henpecked and controlled. It's not really true, but that's how the men would think. But if we finally deprogram you to the point where you realize that actually, if I do what my wife wants, then she'll do what I want and it'll work, and I should be the example because this is what I want her to do. So she's dependent on me. She follows me. I'm the leader, so I should lead her in the right way and be submissive to her and live happily ever after. And then you finally convince him to do that. Now he's got the right mood, right? And you don't really have to teach him much more than that because he'll do all the right things. Correct? Because once he understands the mood, you don't have to say, now you have to be nice and don't get angry and bring her flowers and listen to her. No, once he has the right mood, he'll do all those things. Yes? But if you try to teach him all the techniques without the mood, it's not going to work. He's just going to be a robotic husband. And the wife's going to call me up and go, well, it was nice you talked to him. He's doing all the things, but he's like not in the relationship. He's off in outer space somewhere. Right? So don't get too hung up in, do I have to chant the Panchatantra mantra? No. What about the prana mantras? What about the prayers to the 6 Goswamis? What about, I heard you should do them 3 times because your rounds will be 3 times better. You know, come back to ISKCON 10,000 years, you can write a book of all the weird things people are going to be saying. Just imagine, right? Give it 10,000 years, it's going to be like. Maybe we should do a movie. Rohini and I will do a play, and we've gone, it's the year 12,000, no, 11,099, 1 year before the end. No, it can't be the year 11,000, 10,000. It has to be the year 9,000, 8,000, 7,000. Yeah, now I got it. 7,000, it's the year 7,986, 85. 1 year before the Lord Chaitanya's movement is over. And we go into the future, and we go sit down in the class, and we hear all these amazing things we never heard before. All these weird, Prabhupada said, we're looking at one another and go, Prabhupada never said that. And yeah, so, yes. That I never said that. Yeah. They will say, Prabhupada said so many things. Unless you hear it from me directly, don't believe it. Of course, that's a little extreme, but Prabhupada said that, yeah. That I never said it. Prabhupada said that I never said that. Anyway, I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but I'm trying to make a point, and that's why I'm exaggerating. Don't get too hung up in the mechanics of it, because that's not the essence of japa. When you chant, be absorbed in prayer, in your relationship. That's the essence. And the other things will naturally come. I mean, I've seen that in myself. When I'm chanting good japa, and I'm really relishing, I'm actually like sitting like this. Hare Krishna, Krishna. I'm naturally sitting that way. And when I'm chanting bad japa, I tend to be like this. Hare Krishna. It's just the energy shifts, and then the body shifts. The concentration shifts. The eyes start moving. It's a natural byproduct. So, although we can teach you how to sit, the reality is when your heart is there in japa, you'll naturally sit properly. Right? Just as the man will naturally do the right thing when he has the right consciousness. So all the ladies are going to go home tomorrow night, and their husbands are going to say, what did you learn? And they're going to say, I learned that you should be submissive to me. And if you don't like that, go talk to Mahatma. Go read his article, his controversial articles on Dandavats that may set a new record for hits. Okay. Next. Chanting is worship of Radha and Krishna, and we are meant to absorb ourselves in the worship of the holy names. Do you focus on your deities when you do puja? Yes. Are you on your mobile phone when you do puja? Hopefully not. Are you writing your shopping list when you do puja? Probably not. So japa is the same. It's Krishna's there. Now, we were just having a conversation And one devotee was saying, but I don't realize Krishna's there. And I give this example that most of you know the story that Malati was in an import store and she found a little Jagannath deity, like small. And she brought it to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, what is this? And Prabhupada, he paid obeisances. He said, oh, Lord Jagannath has come. And Prabhupada said, were there other deities there? And she said, yes. So she got Subhadra and Balaram. And then Prabhupada said, could anybody carve these deities? So they carved Jagannath about this high. And he was the first set of deities, maybe in the movement, but at least the second set, because that was in San Francisco, which was the second temple. So San Francisco temple was right in the heart of the hippie area. So hippies were taking LSD, mescaline, peyote, hashish, ganja, and like that. And so they're very out there. And now Americans don't know anything about deity worship. And then, so we have to explain to people, this deity is God. That's it's a big step for an American, that this idol is actually God. For the hippies, they were so intoxicated. It was like, cool, that's God? Cool. Yeah, far out, man. Yeah, that's God. Hey, Joe, look at that. That's God. Oh, cool, man. Yeah. Yeah. So it was, a little easier in those days. But for us as Westerners, and Prabhupada is saying, this is Krishna. Krishna is fully present here. You worship him as non-different. You wake him up. You bathe him. You dress him. You feed him. That was just something very new for us and something a little difficult to accept. But we accepted it because Prabhupada told us. And so the way we realized that the deity was Krishna is that we worshipped him as Krishna. And that's how we realized it, because we couldn't realize it this way. It didn't really, okay, he's non-different, it's not really wood, it's transcendental. You're trying to put all this stuff in your head. Now you as Hindus, you don't have to do that, because you just grow up with deities. Deities are everywhere, right? In cars, in taxis, in hotels, in restaurants, in every business. He's got his Lakshmi there with his incense and every morning. For you, it's just it's not even, there's no transition. It's just deity. But for us, it was really big. It was really strange. It was really weird. And so by honoring Prabhupada's words and accepting that Krishna is there and treating the deity as Krishna, we could begin to realize that it's Krishna. So it's the same way with the holy name. Prabhupada said, when you chant Hare Krishna, it's just like the deity door is open. It's like you should bow down, Hare Krishna. It's like Krishna is appearing. So if you treat the name as Krishna, then you will realize that he's Krishna by treating him as Krishna. Just as we realize the deity is Krishna. And even as Indians, where you accept the deity as Krishna, but if you engage in worship, you get more realization, right? Now, I want to tell you an amazing story that just illustrates this point. It's one of the most incredible stories ever heard in the Hare Krishna movement. Who would like to hear it? Who would like to hear the most incredible story about deity worship you could ever possibly imagine in the history? Anyone interested in hearing it? Yeah. Okay. So now I have to explain something to you. And in this story, you'll realize how much the devotees become attached to the deities. So, in 1981, I was in South Africa. South Africa is southwest of us. A couple thousand, I don't know how many miles. But you have South Africa, and then you have, well, I have to turn your way. You have the island, you have Africa, the continent, and then down here you have South Africa. Up here you have India, and you have islands in between. So I was here And we had some problems in ISKCON, and the center that I was in had to close down. So it was time for me to go. I had no service. I was going to go to India, but on the way to India, there's a little island called Mauritius. And the GBC said, well, we don't have a president. Why don't you come to Mauritius? So I came to Mauritius, and I stayed a year. And there we had this big house, like an 18-room house. It was like it used to be an embassy. And we installed deities there, and with the plan of buying the house. But when it came time to buy the house, the man was asking so much that the devotees decided, why don't we just buy our own land and build a temple, because it wouldn't cost any more. And we could have like 5 or 10 times a larger property. So they went and bought 5 acres of land in the middle of an agricultural field, and they got permission from the government to put a temple, because the agricultural land is only for growing. So they built a temporary building to move the deities, and the idea was they would move the deities to that site, and then they would build the complete temple. But from the time they got the land to the time they were able to build a temporary building was like 6 years. And when they realized that for different reasons they weren't going to be able to move the deities for 6 years, and they had to move out of that house, and they moved into a rented house which was not suitable, they decided that while we're building the other temporary temple, the deities could go to the other temple. They didn't actually think it was going to take 6 years, but they had to move out of the big White House into a smaller place, and you couldn't worship the deities. So they said, can you just take care of the deities? Like, I'm going to America. Can you take care of my deities when I get back? Give them back. He said, sure, I'd love to. So something like that. How long could it take to build a building? 1 year? 6 months? Just a small building? So it ended up taking like 6 years. I don't know why, because I had left and come back. And so when I had come back, it was 1990, then 1991. By 1992, the building was ready. And so we were going to install the deities for Janmashtami of 1992, and then we would bring the deities from the farm. And I think, so it was 1992, and maybe it was more like 8 or 9 years that the deities were on the farm. So when we called up the farm and said, the temple is ready, the altar is ready, we want to bring the deities back on Janmashtami, what do you think they said after 8 years of having the deities? Yeah, that's exactly what they said. They said, what are you talking about? There are deities. No, they're not going. Why? Because we're not letting them go. Why? Because we're attached. So what was incredible about this, there was a battle going on. These are our deities, they're coming to our temple. No, we're not letting these deities leave our temple. This battle was going on. And these emotions, I'd never seen emotions rising that high in my life in any temple surrounding deities. It was intense. And it was almost like, from their perspective, Krishna was leaving Vrindavan. It was that intense. They were actually going crazy. They said, you can't do this. At the same time, they knew the agreement. So in one sense, they didn't have any reason to fight it. So they tried to find reasons to fight it. Like, your temple's not ready, your deity room's not ready, you don't have enough pujaris, and we're coming back. No, it is ready. No, we're just initiating 4 more Brahmins. No, whatever we need for the deity room, tell us and we'll get it together. And it's good. No, you'll never get it together by Janmashtami. Your Brahmins aren't qualified. It was going back like this. So finally we won out because they really couldn't prevent the deities from coming because we were ready. So there's this extremely emotional scene with the devotees from the farm driving over on Janmashtami and having to let their deities go to another temple. That was like a 45-minute drive. And the installation and the emotion on both sides, because we were very happy and they were very sad, was incredible. And all these emotions came from the worship of the deity over so many years, because through that worship they became attached, right? So in a similar way, even though we don't realize Krishna is in his name, but by the worship of the holy name as non-different from Krishna. Over time, we begin to realize it. And sometimes when I chant, all I do is I just tell myself, Mahatma, Krishna is right here with you right now. Whether you realize it or not, he's right here. This is him. This is it. There's no difference from that name and Krishna. And as I remind myself, then as I chant, I enter that mood and honor the holy name as Krishna, that Krishna is here. He's with me. And gradually, through that, I realize the presence of Krishna. Is that good or good? Yeah. You like that story? It's hard to describe what it was like, but it wasn't. It was like right out of Krishna leaving Vrindavan. It was so intense. If you could imagine, you've had your deities here for only since when? Last April. So we're talking like 6 months, 7 months. Even after 7 months, what if we said, we opened a preaching center and such, and they need the deities because not that many people come here, so we're taking them. And Niyamai Leela is a Pachari. How would you feel? Well, he said, well, if my Guru Maharaj said, then I would do it. No, none of that. How would you feel? Yeah, you wouldn't be happy, right? It would be difficult. Yeah. So now, imagine you woke up one morning and you put your hand in your bee bag and you tried to chant and nothing came out. You couldn't. You couldn't chant. How would you feel? I mean, you could talk, but every time you tried to chant the Maha Mantra, it didn't come out. How would you feel? Yeah. Miserable, horrible. So that means you have some attachment to the holy name already. That means you must have some realization that Krishna is there. Otherwise, why would you feel horrible? I'll just chant something else. Hail Mary, full of grace. How does it go? I am a sinner. Please forgive me. You know. So, yes, we all have some realization that Krishna is there. Otherwise, if we were unable to chant the Maha Mantra, then why would we be so upset? Right? So remind yourself a little bit when you're chanting that this is Krishna. He's actually there. And honor the holy name as Krishna, and it will help you a lot, even if you don't fully realize it. Inattention is the root cause of all other offenses. This is from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he describes inattention as laziness, apathy, and loss of focus. We've all been there, right? I don't care. We talked earlier, chanting my rounds are not good. I don't care. I keep chanting bad rounds, just try to get them done. Apathy. Laziness. Procrastination, lack of focus. It's all about lack of effort. That's all. So when you chant means you put in your effort. Correct? Okay. So, this last one is a realization I had. That inattention is born of our eternal conditioning to envy and thus compete with Krishna. And I'll give you a little story to illustrate my realization. And it's very funny, but it's very true, and you may be able to relate to this. In America, they have a television show which is live broadcast of divorce court. Somehow the Americans are interested in watching people get divorced. And one of the reasons they're interested is because the judge is very witty and funny and sharp and cutting. And, you know, like your average American is, right? So she's very entertaining how she deals with the couples that have come for divorce. So I don't know why I was watching this. I can't remember how it happened. Could have been a doctor's office, could have been an airplane, but somehow I was caught watching divorce court with this judge, right? So this couple comes in. And this couple, they had such a bad relationship that they wouldn't even look at one another because they're presenting their case to the judge and they're on different sides of the courtroom. They couldn't even look at one another. It was so bad. And, you know, if they were like more than 20 feet together, it was intolerable for them. So I don't remember the proceedings, but the judgment the judge gave was that I want you two to live together for 6 months and work it out. And try to work it out and then come back. And that was like the worst news they ever heard, because it was hard enough just to be in the same courtroom together. What to speak of live together? So that made an impression on me, and one day I was chanting my japa, and I had entered the japa dead zone. I actually have a picture of the japa dead zone on my computer. I'll show it to you tomorrow. I have to find it. It's quite funny. So, as you know, in the japa dead zone, when you enter the japa dead zone, japa is actually the last thing you want to do. Right? I mean, if you had a list of 100 things to do, japa would be 100 on the bottom of the last thing I want to do. You know that feeling? Yeah. You have entered the japa dead zone. So, unfortunately, I had entered the japa dead zone, but I had remembered this divorce court hearing of how these two people who couldn't stand being in the same room together were ordered to live together for 6 months. And I was thinking, Krishna, right now, chanting japa is the last thing I want to do, and I feel like this couple in the divorce court. And the judge is saying, be together. But I don't really want to be together with you right now, because I really envy you. And, you know, you got all the girls, all the money. Look at me. What do I have? You know, just one beat up old car, and, you know, my girlfriend's left me, and, you know, I've got no money in the bank left, you know. I don't like you. You got it all. I'm envious of you. You know, I hate you, you know. And I'm suffering in this world. And why are you making it better? You know, all these realizations were coming to me that sometimes when we were chanting japa, we're actually with Krishna, and we don't want to be with him. And so that was my realization, that often inattention is just actually coming from our envy of Krishna. That I just don't want to deal with him right now. Interesting, isn't it? So inattention is not always just a material affair. It also has a spiritual origin. That I have to confront this envy and hatred with Krishna. And sometimes I just rather be divorced from it. I don't want to deal with it. Okay, so let's go on to the next. Okay, yeah, let's chant a little bit. I have many affirmations that I'm going to give you. And this is one affirmation. I easily chant my prescribed number of rounds with focus and attention. So we're going to apply the principle when you chant, and we're going to chant some japa. So, before we begin chanting, we're going to make a little adjustment in our consciousness. And what is that adjustment? It's we eliminate everything else going on internally and externally and focus solely on our japa. So right now, take your magic wand, eliminate everything else that's going on, such as I'm hungry, tired, can't wait for the kirtan, wonder what it's going to be for breakfast tomorrow, I hope my bed is soft, and all other things. Do they have mosquitoes out here? Is it going to get cold tonight? What else are we thinking about? Yeah. Will I be able? Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Probably won't be able to focus. This is going to be difficult. Yes, you had something? Oh, I can't reciprocate with Krishna. A fear. So that becomes the prominent mode when I'm chanting. Okay, so let's take our wand, eliminate everything, and we're just going to chant. That's all we're going to do. Is that hard to do? We eliminate everything. Calm down. Come up to the mode of goodness. And we can begin chanting. Okay? So, just chant and don't worry about your mind. It's got nothing to do with your chanting. Just chant. When you chant, chant. Turn to the person next to you and say, Prabhu, Mataji, when you chant, chant. Turn to the person next to them and tell them, when you chant, chant. And as I mentioned earlier today, you're going to have a homework assignment. And your homework assignment is that tomorrow morning during Japa, you are going to try, you're going to make the effort to chant the best japa you have ever chanted in your entire existence in this material world. Now, whether or not you can do it is not the assignment. The assignment is to make the effort. To make the what? Effort. Yeah, because we can only work on the side of effort. The results may vary from day to day and from individual to individual. And in order to really maximize your experience tomorrow, I want to do a little exercise before we close. And this is an exercise in absorption of the Mahamantra on the level of feeling, not on the level of mind. Now, a lot of times devotees talk about the mind is difficult to control. My realization is when you go into the heart and feeling, you don't need to worry about the mind. The mind is only activated when you become a little bit robotic or dull in your heart, where you're not really praying. Just like, for example, we often go in front of the deities and pray, and nobody says, I was having difficulty with my mind while I was praying, generally, especially if the prayer is very heartfelt, very intentional, and very sincere. You have a need, you ask the deities, please, please, please. You don't really deal with your mind. Is that true? Does anyone have a problem with their mind praying? Generally not, right? But we often say we have a problem with our mind when we're chanting. And part of the reason, or most of the reason, is because we're not entering more deeply into the realm of feeling. We're more in the realm of mind. And that mind is what keeps us connected with our day-to-day affairs. So, this next exercise we're doing is an exercise in going beyond the mind and going into the level of feeling. And not even our feelings of prayer in this exercise, but just feeling Krishna's presence, which is different. Just like if I meet Neha, I have my feelings about her, she has her feelings about me. In this exercise, it would be that I'm just allowing myself to experience what I feel coming from her. And I'm just on the receiving mode. I'm not trying to manifest anything other than just feel. So someone says, Sudevi Saki says, Neha has a lot of feelings for you. So, oh, really? So, yes, she really likes you. So, she wants to talk to you. So while she's talking to me, I'm just feeling, allowing myself to feel what she's feeling for me. And from that, I may naturally feel something, but I'm not trying to generate feelings. Previously, we were talking a little more about generating feelings, right? So we're kind of switching it around. Srila Prabhupada said, when you chant the holy name, you can feel Krishna. Have you ever heard that? He says that you can feel Krishna, because Krishna is in his name, so therefore it's logical that you should be able to feel his presence, right? In his holy name, I can feel something. If Krishna walked in the room right now, do you think the energy in this room would shift? You think we would feel something changed, even though you don't see him because he's coming in the back? Or Prabhupada or your spiritual master, you feel something's just changed, right? So you can feel a presence of another individual. So if the holy name is Krishna, we should feel that presence. So that's what this exercise is. I don't mean to confuse you, but I've been telling you how to open your heart. Now this is more of receiving. So the way this exercise works is you have to pretend that you've never chanted Hare Krishna before. And now I'm introducing you to the Hare Krishna mantra, and I'm just going to ask you to fully experience the mantra, and I will guide you in that experience, but I want you to be in the mood as if this is the first time you've ever chanted Hare Krishna. And in our understanding of rasa, that there is this position when Krishna meets the devotee and the devotee feels like it's the first time. You have this idea of Navayovana. Krishna is always youthful and new. It's always, every time you see Krishna, it's like the first time. It would make a nice song, right? Actually, there was a song like that called Just Like the First Time. It's talking about how he was with his girlfriend, and it was just like the first time they met. It was so fresh and alive. So, you've never heard the Maha Mantra before. You're being introduced to it. I'm going to introduce you to the Maha Mantra word by word, and I'm going to help you experience it. Are you ready? Okay, so now we're going to introduce you into the Hare Krishna mantra. There are 3 words, Hare Krishna and Rama. First, we're going to introduce you to the first word, which is Hare, which is a name of Radharani in the vocative, calling to her, O Radhe. Please repeat after me. Hare, 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 Hare. Now, Radharani, she is the female counterpart of Krishna. It's through her and her energy that we can approach Krishna. As we say her name, I would like you to feel Radharani's presence as she vibrates inside your body. So be open to receive her presence and vibration as you feel it inside your body, as you repeat after me. Hare, 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 Hare. Now as we chant our name, feel her presence in the vibration, vibrating outside of you in the room. Hare, 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 Hare. Now, as you feel the vibration inside of you, as you feel the vibration outside of you, be open to receive the presence of Srimati Radharani in sound, because she is present fully in her name as we chant. Please repeat. Hare, 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 Hare. Now we will introduce you to Krishna. Krishna is the name of God. It means all attractive. One who possesses all attractive qualities. Please repeat after me. Krishna, 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 Krishna. As we chant the name of Krishna, feel the vibration inside of your body. Krishna, 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 Krishna. Now feel the name of Krishna vibrating outside of you in the room. Krishna, 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 Krishna. Now, as you feel the sound of Krishna vibrating inside your body and outside your body, be open to receive Krishna's presence in sound. Krishna, 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 Krishna. Now we'll chant the name of Rama. Rama means pleasure. But Rama also means Radha Ramana, the enjoyer of Radha. It is also a name of Krishna. So please repeat after me. Rama, 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 Rama. As we chant the name of Rama, feel the sound vibrating inside your body. Rama, 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 Rama. Now feel the name of Rama vibrating outside your body. Rama, 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 Rama. As you feel the name vibrating inside your body and outside of your body, be open to fully receive the presence of Rama in sound. Rama, 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 Rama. Now we're going to chant two names together. And as we chant these two names, become conscious of the relationship of the two names together. Please repeat after me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So now we have the presence of Radha and Krishna together. As we chant their names, feel the names vibrating inside your body. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Now feel the sound vibrating outside your body. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Now as you feel the sound vibrating inside and outside of your body, be open to the presence, to feel the presence of Radha and Krishna in sound. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Now let's chant the sounds, the names, Hare and Rama. Please repeat after me. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. As we chant the names Hare and Rama, please feel the sound vibrating inside your body. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Now feel the sound vibrating outside of your body. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Hare Rama. Rama Hare Rama. Now feel the sound vibrating inside your body and outside your body as we chant these vibrations. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Now we're going to chant the whole mantra, the whole Maha Mantra. And I will chant it once, and then we'll all repeat it together, and we will be conscious of feeling, receiving, feeling and receiving. Actually, let's chant together, you and all the mantra. So as we chant, feel the sound vibrating inside your body, and feel the sound vibrating outside of your body, and be open to fully receive the presence of Radha and Krishna in sound, and we can chant together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Continue. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So now we're going to chant Japa, and I request you to stay in the same mood that we've been in for the last 15 minutes, which is the mood of feeling the holy name vibrating inside, feeling the holy name vibrating outside, and allowing us, as far as possible, to be open to receive the presence of Radha and Krishna. And as we do this exercise, if your mind begins to activate with thoughts of when is this going to end, or why are we doing this, or is this bona fide, or my back hurts, or my stomach's aching for food, or any such things, just go back into this experience of feeling, of receiving. Because there's a difference between the world of feeling and the world of thinking. And feeling is an aspect of the mind, but it's the aspect of feeling the thoughts. And so we want to go away from thoughts and just be focused on the experience of the holy name, because that brings us into the present. Experience is in the present, and mind is either in the future or the past. So if you allow yourself, as far as possible, to experience the holy name, you'll be very fixed in the present. And if you somehow go into your mind, just go back into experience. You don't need your mind to chant. It's not required. It's not at all needed. You need experience. That's what we want. Okay? So let's begin chanting Japa, and then I will tell you when to end. And we're going into the experience. Okay? We'll have more time to chant. If you'd like to stay up all night and chant, you'll have plenty of time. Before we end, I want you to take out your notebook and I want you to write something down. What I want you to write down is what you want to experience tomorrow in your japa. So let's say you were saying how
there's not a lot of feeling. So you could say, I want to feel more. I want to experience more. Or the devotee who was saying, experiences a lot of boredom. You could say, I want to be excited. I want to relish, something like that. But here's the key. I want you to write it in the present tense. So if you said, I want to feel, you would write it down, I am feeling Krishna's presence in my japa, or I am feeling devotion, or whatever it is you want to feel. Or you might say, I am relishing every mantra, I'm relishing every round. Every round is better than the next. Do it all in present tense. So, whatever it is you want to experience, write down in your notebook in present tense. I want to experience excitement, concentration, focus, relish, energy. Don't do anything negative. I don't want to. I don't want to get tired. No, they're right. I experience energy. I am relishing. Whatever it is you want to experience, write it in the present. Okay? And so let's do that now. Just write a few things that you want to experience, and then I will explain why we're doing this after you finish. Present tense. I am relishing. I am tasting. I am focused. I am feeling Krishna's presence. I am praying intensely to be accepted. Whatever it is you want to experience tomorrow. Or whatever it is you want to do tomorrow. I am chanting all my rounds in one place. So it's not just what you want to experience, but it's also what you want to do. But write it in present tense. Why are we doing this? Who would like to know why we're doing this? Why in the present tense? Why don't we say, I want to relish? Why are we doing it in the present tense? You know why. Or you want to know why. Well, what this is actually doing, it's conditioning you to have this experience. By putting in the present tense, it's almost as if it's now happening. So it's working on a subtle level. You remember what we said earlier today, that when we go out from here, we might think, oh, this was nice, but how will I do it? That's also on a subtle level, working in a negative way. How will I be able to do this? I don't think it's possible. It's working in a subtle way on a negative level. So any kind of thought process that I can or can't do something is creating a subtle conditioning to make that a reality. So what we're doing by writing this in the present tense is conditioning our subconscious mind to make this a reality tomorrow. And so it's not even you have to think about this tomorrow. You've just put this in as a desire in a present tense that this is happening. You've almost created a condition that it's just happening already. So when tomorrow comes, it's just the fulfillment of what's already happening. This is an exercise which you can do even in your service. Like you can write in the present tense, I am doing this. Or we have this project. Or I have these qualities. It's shifting your consciousness on something which is positive and creating a positive expectation. Oh no, 16 rounds, it's going to be as bad as yesterday. Yes, you're absolutely right, it is going to be as bad as yesterday because that's how you've just programmed yourself. And that's what you're expecting to happen. And it always works, it does happen. It is as bad as yesterday when you think that way. Yes? Today's going to be a bad day. You are right, it's going to be a horrible day because that's where you're setting yourself up for. So today is going to be tomorrow's going to be a great day with japa, right? Isn't it? Yes. So that's why we use present tense, because it starts to recondition the subconscious mind to make this happen. Even without your conscious effort. Anyway. One other thing I want you to do is whenever you have any time tonight or tomorrow before we begin, write some realizations. You must have some realizations from today. Something you must realize. So you have to just write it, because it'll be very valuable for you in the future to read these realizations, because the realizations are important. And if you get off, you read them, what you've been realizing here. This environment is very conducive to realization. So you'll read it later on. It will help you tremendously. Okay? And then, as I said, we're going to plan for the best japa tomorrow. So you've already written down some things that if they happen, that would be good, wouldn't it? They're great if what you wrote down actually happened. So what we want to do is now think about tomorrow's japa, how to make it better, and we start tonight. What we do tonight after the workshop, how much we eat, what time we take rest, when we get up, and how we prepare ourselves tomorrow. So I'm going to give you a few pointers from tomorrow's class, but we're 3 hours behind because we normally get this far because we start Friday night, and this is very important. And we're going to talk about this more, but I just want to give you a little idea. When we begin our japa chanting, as we said, there's a lot of things going on in our minds, like, oh no, 16 rounds, how will I get through this? It's going to be difficult. But there may be something else going on in our mind, such as, this is going to be nectar. That can also be there, right? Or this is going to be wonderful. So how we enter our japa has a big effect on the quality of our japa. And one of the devotees was telling me, he said, you know, my work is very stressful and very busy, and so my mind is always running at 100 kilometers an hour. So japa works when you're in the mode of goodness. It doesn't work when you're in passion or ignorance, because you're too agitated. So when we sit down to japa, if we're not situating ourselves in sattva gun, then that's why our minds are going, they're creative. We're going into the future, what we have to do today, tomorrow, next week, next year, or we're going into the past, what we didn't do. That's a symptom of tamagun. Or particularly if we're going into the past and we're lamenting about something, or there's friction with another person. So one of the keys to improving your japa is that when your finger hits your first bead, that magic wand that we used a little while ago, it goes when you chant. And it's kind of like you've just drawn the curtain on your whole world. And that whole world, and that curtain's locked now. And it's on the other side, and you don't touch it. That you touch when you finish your rounds. Right now, you just close the curtain. And as we know, one of the big challenges is to go into the heart and not be distracted by the mind. And I believe one of the main reasons that we have problem with the mind is we don't close the curtain on our life when we chant. So because the curtain's open, it's like you're chanting while you're looking at your life. So there's the japa and there's your life. Whereas you close the curtain, you can't see it anymore. Better yet, you walk out of the house. You leave the house of your life and you go on a walk, so it's completely gone, and now you're chanting. And then when you finish your rounds, you come back into the house of your life. Most of us don't do that, or if we do it, we don't do it well enough. Because our lives are going, our minds are going in cycles of thoughts, and we are recycling the same thoughts. What the psychologists say, we have 35,000 to 60,000 thoughts, but predominantly, I think there's like 200 or between 200 and 600 are the same, and they're just recycling like a Ferris wheel. The same concerns, the same fears, the same anxieties. Will I get this? Will this work out? You know? And if you look at your thought process, you'll see a lot of your thinking is the same. And if you look at your thought process, you may realize that when you chant japa, a lot of these same thoughts begin to come up every time you chant japa. What about my son? What about this? What about the work? What about my job? Close the curtain. That all is for later. So, one of the things I would like you to do tomorrow, aside from meditating on the mantra when I chant, which means basically when I chant my rounds, that's all I'm doing. But to aid that, close the curtain on your life. Make a shift. Now I'm chanting japa. I've picked up my beads, so now we're doing japa. Everything else is over, right? It's finished. Just this. Shift, close the curtain on your life, shift your consciousness. And then you might say, how do we do this? And we know how to do this because when you were in school and you had to study, you would go to the library. And when you walked in the door of that library, there was a shift. Now, my world and all the parties and all the friends and everything is out there. I'm in the library and there's only one thing I'm doing here, which is studying. At least in theory, that's what the library is for, right? And libraries are very good places to study, aren't they? If you go to a party and bring your books, it's a distraction. So you might be at the party and tell your friends, I have to study, and you leave the party, and you leave all that behind, and you go in to the library, and you just shut the doors on every other aspect of your life, and you study. So we do know how to do this, don't we? Ladies, you ever see a man read a newspaper? Can you talk to him? He has shut the curtain on his life. He doesn't have a life outside the sports page or the politics page or the investment page, right? You're on an airplane. These guys open the paper when the airplane takes off. They're still reading it when the airplane lands. They won't even know if the airplane crashed. They're in a different universe, isn't it? So, if you ask the question, how to do this, my answer is, we already do it. We know how to do it. We know how to focus. You go in the kitchen, it's time to cook. You're focused on cooking. You're a surgeon, you're a doctor, you're a psychotherapist, you're with your patient. That's it. It's you and the patient. It's not your wife and your kids and your problems. It's just you and the patient. So this is really important for japa. So remember this tomorrow morning when you go into your japa, when you chant, try to, within your own virtual world, close the curtain on it. So you're just with japa. You're not with anything else. And then open the curtain after your japa is finished. And don't peek through the curtain while you're chanting. Well, let me just see. Because now when the curtain's open, that's what you're focusing on. Right? So a lot of times when we have problems with our mind, it's only because we're allowing the mind to be active while we're chanting. Because you don't need it. So we're allowing it to be connected to our life, and it gets activated. So don't activate your mind. And you'll find, once you make that shift, it kind of becomes natural to become absorbed. Okay? Can we do that? So remember these things tomorrow, and then you're really going to make an effort tomorrow because you want tomorrow to be a special day for your japa. And so give yourself tonight and tomorrow morning these thoughts of how we're going to make this work.